Thanks everyone for joining the Future Proof Podcast. My name is Alex Meisnick. Today's conversation is with Chase Lomas. He is with EXP and the Desrochers Realty Group. This conversation is going to dive into why he got in the business, how he got into the business, how he's going to structure his business moving forward into 2026 in the future by nurturing his current clients and his wife, his family, and everything in between. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. Thanks a lot.
Pretty much taking every opportunity I could, learning about houses, learning about offers, learning about negotiations, then transitioned more into a training role where all the new agents coming in, I would onboard them, teach them the systems, teach them how to write an offer, teach them how to show a house, questions to ask. And then now I am more in the lead management role. So any inbound leads coming in, I work closely with Zillow to ensure that our agents are getting great opportunities and are in turn, making the best of those great opportunities, staying on them with ideas of even how to reach out to these people, being there as a resource for any questions they have and keeping them on track to their goals.
Buyer lead representation or his client, rep, taking them out to look at houses, getting a lot of reps in, learning kind of how to run your real estate business after literally one of the best in the industry. And then now fast forward, you're nurturing and kind of helping newer agents learn how to lead capture and lead follow-up and lead management, basically kind of grow their business. So between at the beginning and now, like what are your biggest takeaways from what you've learned in the last 13 years that could help maybe a newer agent kind of start without having that realtor or the broker manager kind of helping them, learn that way? From your experience, what are kind of the key focuses that a newer agent should really look at to grow their business?
Again, I learned from one of the best in the industry, and I probably had more involvement in sales in the first 5 years than most agents have in 10, just because of the volume of clients and the amount of showings and everything that I did. But the biggest takeaway that I ever had, and it still rings true, it'll always ring true, is that you have to focus on the relationship and what's best for the client 100% of the time. I've definitely told people to not buy more houses than I've told them to buy houses, because at the end of the day, as a realtor, your job is not to sell people houses. If I'm going in and having to try to convince someone to buy a house, it's not the house for them.
For sure.
They're going to know if it's right for them, their family, what their goals are for the next 5, 10, 15 years. It's my job to try to help them through that process and, advocate for them and look for issues with the house and set them up with the best inspectors, title companies, lenders. So every step of that process is just simple and easy. It's not easy buying a house sometimes. And, you have to work with a group, a team that's going to get you to the finish line with as little stress as possible.
Absolutely.
And, that's what I've focused on. And I think that's where and why, I guess, people keep coming back. I hope, at least.
Yeah. What I was hearing is at the beginning of your career, you had the luxury and kind of the help to really be behind one of the best in the business, learn how he runs his operation and his clients. And that biggest and most important lesson you really learned was just treating clients like the best way possible. Obviously, because that's what's going to give you like an annuity income later on in your career, is all of your clients coming back to you and not having to do a lot of outbound prospecting to kind of keep your career going and, and keep your business rolling. So we were talking about in 2026, you're really focused on just loving on your current clients and your database. And you mentioned, just really everything that you do for them. Can you touch on kind of those key things of like what Desrochers Realty Group does as a whole and kind of what you do individually to kind of keep those clients not only top of mind, but also to keep them like in like your family, in your circle?
Yeah, absolutely. Going back a little bit, I had the benefit of starting with Daniel and Julie back in 2014, and leads were never a part of the business. Now they're so important, right? And everything
Yeah.
is internet leads. They got random leads and listing stuff, but um, there was no choice other than to go try to build relationships and try to meet people at open houses and, face-to-face interactions more than anything. Now, and I think that's what helped me from the beginning, kind of build those relationships. So now it's, I think that people still need to focus on those relationships and supplement with the leads. But for 2026, obviously Desrochers Realty Group offers so much. We have the fall party, the spring cleaning, the pictures with Santa. That's good face-to-face interaction with everyone that I invite. Not everyone will come. Not, people are busy, but at least, they're getting reaches, inviting them to that stuff to hopefully stay somewhat top of mind. And then it's the mailers that will go out, the emails that'll go out,
Recipe cards.
the recipe cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's little things, and it's
myself, my favorite, your coupon book too, because I get the luxury of being Julie's brother, and a past client of the Desrochers Realty Group, so I'm still on that list. So I always get the coupon book, and I love it. I think Kelly uses it most of all of them every year. So
yeah,
that's
So those just came in this year, so those will be going out here very shortly. No, I think it's something that I've been okay at in the past, but not good enough. So that's my main focus in 2026 is how do I make sure that those clients know that they're always top of mind for me too.
Yeah. We were speaking, like you were thinking about a way to do that. I mentioned, and this is for kind of any agent listening or even lender, a really good way to kind of stay on top of your mind or top of mind of your clients is every week pick 2 letters of the last name, organize your CRM by alphabet, and just call every single person in A and B the first week, and just keep going all the way through 12, and you'll hit your entire database in 1 year with at least one phone call. Because one phone call, personally, if you get them on the phone, is awesome. I mean, for you guys, I think that realtors, as you probably know and have been taught, we always are always taught to do a yearly mortgage, review. Not only is that a good touch point to talk to your clients, it's also you can connect with them and ask them how their family's doing and get any kind of insight on anything going on in their life. And you can take that as an extra step if something is going wrong or going well. You can always send them like a gift or a handwritten card to elevate that. But it's also a good way for you to kind of see if there's anything that you can help them genuinely with as well.
Mm-hmm.
Refinances right now is a big one, but for you guys, it could be like a value, whatever you call it, Navy M or whatever you guys do. That would be also another touch point that you could do yearly as well with each client.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I love that.
So moving forward into 2026, staying top of mind with your clients is a big focus of yours. And then we also touched on kind of what you do internally with the team, outside of real estate, kind of what's going on in your life. I know you have your wife and 2 kids. You guys live, south of the cities, kind of what's your focus other than real estate that you're kind of looking at right now?
Yeah, the family part of things is so important to me too. So that's where, in real estate, I always told new agents this. It's like the first few years, if you want to be successful, come with a ton of sacrifice. They really do. Like the weekends, the nights, you work when people aren't working, when they're available to go see houses and, go to open houses and everything like that. So there has to be a little bit of sacrifice in it. And luckily, I have a very understanding wife. We met pretty much right when I was starting in this industry. So she's seen the full progression of, a 23-year-old kid fresh out of college trying to convince people that I was the right fit for them to buy a house, which took a little time.
Yeah.
But, the sacrifice is only worth it, if you can learn to enjoy the other stuff too. So we made it a goal this year that we every summer we want to just rent a cabin somewhere until we find the right place to buy our next VRBO, our first VRBO, I should say.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're focused on the Alexandria area. So if anyone listening has a opportunity on Carlos or La Hamadou, let me know, because
there you go.
Yeah, that's our next goal. But I want to be able to take my daughter to soccer games and stuff like that, and just family time is so important too.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So Is that the biggest kind of switch in your career after becoming a father, is just really understanding that you need to focus most of your time with your family and also still thriving in your business, which is super difficult. So how are you finding success with that right now? Like, what are you doing? How are you managing your calendar or your
Mhm.
schedule to make sure that you do have time for your family? And outside of that, even managing your calendar, I know the one thing for me that's really hard that I've been taking a huge focus on, because I don't know, the beginning of Jude's life was really hard because it was like a super busy time. We were really trying to
Mhm.
focus and grow my business. So unfortunately, when we were like, going through the beginning of his life, it was really hard for me to kind of,
From this
be
light a
that
little bit.
focused. Maybe good. It was hard for me to be that focused parent and kind of help Kelly. So we're like at the beginning of the life, me and Kelly had a conversation where it was, she was going to focus on like bedtimes and putting down, so at that time I could actually like work, so I could be focused when he was awake. And now it's transformed to bedtimes. It's like almost impossible for me to help because he's like obsessed with Kelly, putting him to sleep.
Yeah.
But where my focus is really is when I'm with them, like 100% being present with them, and for me to make sure that when he looks at me, I'm not on my phone or I'm not sending emails, which is probably the hardest thing to do because I'm like wired to always be looking at my phone to make sure that like no one's texting me or calling me or emailing me, or you're sending me a request for a pre-approval, and like my like in my mind my goal is to get you guys that like within like the hour, so you guys are not waiting on anything.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's hard to do that. So is that the same for you, or kind of what are you feeling like when you're at home? Is it hard to like separate work from family, or kind of what are you doing to kind of work on that?
Well, it's always kind of hard, but you have to realize that the things that made you successful, the things that got you there was the fast response, was the being available. So, it's like you said with being intentional with your time. If a client wants to see a house on the weekend, I'm going to show the house on the weekend. Like it's going to happen. It's
Yep.
about timing and, when I'm home, not trying to be, always on my phone, which is, like you said, extremely difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's also time blocking is huge. So when a client reaches out and says, hey, I want to see this house this weekend, most people's first response is, okay, when do you want to see it? Mine is, I'm available between 10 and 12 on Saturday, or 3 to 6 on Saturday, or I give people time blocks so
Yep.
I can plan things to still do things with my family and be there. And I'm fortunate to have a wife that works a pretty standard 9 to 5. We're not both in the industry, so she is there on weekends to be able to help, and realizes that this is part of the job. And I'm fortunate to have people reaching out and wanting to see homes.
Exactly. That's why Kelly's wired the same way. I can see her not get frustrated, but also, want me there. But then she also knows, like, hey, that's how we make a living. That's how we,
Yeah.
pay the bills. So she obviously understands it.
Mhm.
But you also too, I mean, the one thing I don't think you touched on, obviously you don't want to do this as much as least as possible, but you do have the support behind you with other agent. Like if you were completely booked on a day or somewhere, you could always reach out to the team. There's one person that could show the house or kind of throw that out there. And I guarantee you there's going to be someone that could help you with that too as well. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the power of being on the team.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a last resort for me.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
I
for sure.
always want to be there working hands on with that client, but if it's
You got
truly
to go
like,
on vacation. You got to do stuff too. So just having
yeah.
that as a luxury as well.
Yeah, no one's going to reach out and say like reach out to me and ask for a showing and get a no.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's a nice perk of it.
Mhm.
All right. What did we focus on? What else is going on? I mean, like what other than, staying on top of your database, connecting with your past clients to grow your business in 2026, what else is going on in your real estate? Is if it's initiative with the team or something new that you're working on, kind of what's going on in your world other than really just hyper focused on past clients and your database?
Well, I guess over the last few years, it's a lot of commercial stuff too. Getting
Yeah,
into
I
that
forgot about that.
space of
Okay.
commercial leases, commercial sales. I'm always looking for those opportunities as well. Helped
Okay.
with a few different restaurants. and large commercial spaces. So that's another big part of it too. I'm very diversified in what I'm
Yeah.
doing, so not hedging bets on anything.
So for the commercial real estate versus the residential, obviously you've, worked most of your career in residential, and most recently, like you said, the last couple of years, you're starting to focus a little bit more on the commercial. What's the difference between them? What, like the two? What knowledge base, or kind of what are you doing different to get real commercial clients versus residential? Kind of what's the difference between them, or kind of what are you doing differently?
Honestly, I'm not actively searching commercial. I'm getting referrals for it. It's word of mouth. I got in with a great community of people, and you know, the last few have just been direct referrals from them.
Nice.
The actual business side of things is night and day. Residential is extremely emotional. You're tied to a house, calls to you. It's a place for you and your family. Commercial's dollars and cents.
Yeah, and
You
making
do
sure
have
that it works.
those residential clients, especially investors and things that, they're only looking at the numbers, and if it's a little bit off, they won't go with it. But, if a person loves a house, they're going to try to find a way to make it work. With commercial, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We find the
Yeah.
next opportunity. So nothing emotional about it.
So that's a good thing, and also kind of maybe a bad thing as well, because, at least in the emotional aspect, would bring a person that a house that maybe is a little outside their budget, but they like it, it gives you a little bit of flexibility there if they actually love it, versus if it's a commercial client. If it doesn't work inside their budget, they're not going to do it. So at least on your end, it's a little bit of clarity knowing that, like, you're not even going to show them an option that doesn't fit inside that wheelhouse. So it's kind of, I guess, a little bit of an easier task on your end at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I guess going back, I never push people outside of their budget in residential. I really try to get them to a place where they feel comfortable, and that's where I rely on you so much,
Mhm.
because that monthly budget and making sure they understand that their mortgage payment is not what it costs to own a home.
No, yeah, 100%. And I think people overlook that as well. Yeah.
So I try to tell them that, what you're approved for and what you should do are two completely different things. Someone could be approved for $500,000 and, have plans of kids in the future. Well,
Yeah.
daycare is a hell of an expense. I can tell you that personally. Um, so if
Sure.
that's where you want to be and you're focused on that for the next few years, maybe it's best not to be in a place where you're maxing out your budget. Taxes are going up a little bit every year.
Nice.
Insurance rates are getting crazy. Utility costs are going up. So making sure to factor all that with home maintenance. I think with everything we do at the buyer consult, walking people through a start to finish system and helping them understand that, there's more costs than just your mortgage. Again, I guess puts people at ease too. But commercial, it's about understanding the leases, the purchase agreements, when to get attorneys involved, which is pretty regularly, the difference between a phase one and a phase two inspection and what's required of all of that, and that it's not quick like a residential sale where you can be in a house with, at least with you, in 15 days if you need to be. That, banks are involved, and it's typically a 6-month process.
Yeah, I think, like you just said. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit nicer on like the commercial side, because your clients, obviously, if they're buying commercial, they'll have all those check and balances and things like that. When you alluded to on the real estate or the residential side, which is really the only side that I know, what they can afford is not always what they should afford. Obviously, everyone that you deal with is adults. So at the end of the day, I give them the numbers and they can make the decisions for themselves. But I think the most thing that I do on my end is during the initial conversation, I have like a needs and goals calls, just like you guys have like your, sit down, like, buyer consult. And on that needs and goals call, I'm very intentional about going through and asking them what their perfect monthly payment is for the mortgage. But not only do I ask them what the perfect mortgage payment is, we talk about utilities, we talk about other expenses that might be coming down the line. And I can kind of fit that into their DTI and show them kind of what that would be with all that added in. So they're not shocked when they do get in the house and all those bills start coming through. Because at the end of the day, like you said, one of the most important things about having a client that loves you for the rest of the time that they own that house is you not putting them in a position where either they regretted it or they can't afford it, which, you're not putting them in that position. But if we can do anything upfront to educate them on being more solid, I think that is going above and beyond for your clients. So, and like the other thing that I do is just make sure that when you guys are going looking for properties, I think the most important thing I do, I know my assistant hates me for it, but I tell every single client, I'm like, I literally don't care if you're going to place an offer or go see like 4 houses with Chase that weekend. Send us the addresses on every single property. I'll send you a property specific estimate updated with the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and a current rate. So you can see the numbers. So at least I can probably take the number guessings and your home decision all about emotion, not the numbers, because you have the numbers in front of you.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that lands really.
That's huge because, like residential is emotional. It's a place where you're going to raise your kids, right? But it is very much so financial as well. You have to go into it completely educated, and going back to that team of having a lender you trust, an agent you trust, an insurance person that you trust.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're providing.
All right. So to close it out, everything that you've done in your career, starting 13, whatever years ago, going and having the luxury to learn and kind of grow with the Desrochers Realty Group. If you have a newer agent that's listening, or even a seasoned agent, what is the biggest takeaway other than the one you talked about? I know you said the biggest takeaway that you learned from Daniel is just treating every client, like they would be like to be treated, but making sure that the house purchase is, the utmost importance to them, and treating them correctly. What else to actually, something that's actionable for an agent or a newer person? Like, what is one of the bigger takeaways that you learned to like grow your business at the beginning?
Well, Daniel always told me from the beginning, he's like, do not chase the dollar ever. Chase the relationship, do what's best for them, and the money will come. But, people can tell when you're there trying to sell.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely one thing. The other biggest thing is to create a calendar for yourself and do the things that aren't always fun. Make the follow-ups, do those open houses, and just stick to that calendar. Where agents really fail a lot of times is that they don't treat this like a job. They treat it, like most agents, I'm guessing, don't work 40 hours a week. The successful ones probably work 100 hours a week.
For sure. Yeah.
But I doubt many are sitting down from 9 to 5 and doing lead generation, client follow-ups, planning, research, education for 8 hours a day. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when I started, I wasn't doing anything close to that.
Yeah.
So, I'm in the office now, every single day working with agents. And, I think that's been another thing to me, is that I'm not great working from home. There's too many distractions. So, unless you're there alone and you don't have animals and all the stuff that goes along with it and kids, finding a place where you can truly sit down and work and separate that from your home life, I think is huge.
Oh, absolutely. If I have to do any kind of deep work, I have to leave the house. So typically for me in the mornings, I go to the gym. My gym's connected to the office, so that's super nice. And then I'll work for a couple hours at the gym and then come home and, see Jude off for school and all that good stuff. But yeah, the separation. So, I mean, what I heard you say is not just time blocking. It's more like having a calendar set up for like themes of like the day or the week or whatever. So that if it's, Mondays is doing lead generation, Tuesdays is doing, follow up, Wednesdays is maybe working side their business, but whatever you're doing and whatever you're focused on, having that planned out in a calendar and just sticking to it is probably one of the biggest things that can move your business forward.
Yep. And it took me years to realize that, even though I had it in, said to me multiple times. It's when you start to get busy that you realize how important it is. And it's not just work related things that are on there. The personal stuff needs to be on there too. So if Sunday morning church is important to you, put that on your calendar. And that way, if someone reaches out sorry, I'm booked. During that time, I'm available at 2 o'clock that day. Can we get out and see the house then?
Yeah.
And I have family
I think the
nights
funny,
on my calendar, and working out and getting ready every morning at 5 a.m. is on my calendar. So,
yeah. I think one of the funniest thing is always like at the team meetings or whatever. And like, if someone's not there, or like they couldn't miss something or they couldn't make it, and they say something like they had like another event scheduled during that time or whatever. And you can just see Daniel kind of like, why isn't it on your schedule? Like type of thing. So yeah, that's who probably ingrained it in you. And it's true. I mean, if it's not on your schedule, you're not going to do it.
yeah, and things are
You can
going to,
have it.
yeah, things are going to come up that, like something really important. Buyer needs to see this house at 10 a.m. on Saturday or Friday because there's multiple offers and they have to get it bid in. If I have something at 10 a.m. that day already that can be moved, I'm just going to slide it around on my calendar. I'm not going to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, if anybody listening, maybe there's an agent that wants to talk to you about, joining the team, or if there's a client that looking for a realtor that's going to put them up on a pedestal and take great care of them, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, just give me a call. You can put my information down as well.
Cool.
Send me an email. Check me out on social media. I'm not big on posting. That's also another big part of this business that we talked about too, Alex.
Yeah, there you go.
We're gonna challenge ourselves to be a little bit more present on social media.
Yeah.
But I'm there.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, buddy. It was good talking to you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.
All right. See you.
See ya.
All right. Cool, man. Well, see ya.